So honestly, I was thinking about it because when I signed up for it, I was sitting in the same car at lunch signing up for it. And if I could relive that moment on pulling the trigger and those first 2 or 3 weeks of that high of knowing that I did something right, I would do it again and again.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but as far as where I started, I'm busy, no direction, no end goal, as you would say, because you know where you want to be, but you don't know how to navigate through it. So made plenty of right choices, but then few bad ones as expected. And then, once you're trying to find your equilibrium, and now it's like my daughter's 2. My wife found out we're about to have another one maybe at the end of the year,
Congrats.
probably a girl. So I'm sure I'll be hitting up all the girl dads. But long story short, it was a good way for me to find what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong,
Uh-huh.
and how I can find direction. And then even if you get knocked off track, there's an equilibrium or a balancing point that you can get back on there. And
Absolutely.
so, because I think that was the most important thing, that, things happen, curveballs get thrown, and how you find your way back is always the hardest thing to do. But if you don't have a destination to come back to, you're going to get lost. And at that point, it's only going to make things worse. And
100%.
so, like week 4 net worth, I didn't have any ideas, but I also feel like a perspective shift where instead of me focusing on, okay, yeah, debts are important or whatever expenses, I need to focus on the big picture, which is the net worth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, so if things go sideways, where's my net worth?
Yep. Yep. Spot on.
That,
That's a big shift, a paradigm shift for a lot of people. It's like they come to me, they're like, hey, which high yield savings should I pick? I'm like, oh, we can talk about that, but like, what are we trying to really accomplish? What's the big mission here? What are we trying to really get to? What type of wins have you had over the 6 months? I know it's a short time.
um, the biggest thing was, having some structure where you do the HSA, you do the 401k, which I was already doing. There was a bunch of stuff, but then you have, setting up the will, being a little bit the taxable brokerage for the kid, just finding different avenues to know that, and then know that, okay, well, I'm on the right track. This is just reaffirming what I was doing. So now I have a good structure. The other good thing is being able to kind of see where things are at and know what the expenses are, versus every month feeling like, okay, I don't know how much I'm spending. I have a
Hmm.
general idea. I had a general idea before I signed up for the academy, but to put it on paper and then just to kind of see the numbers, I mean, it's kind of finance is such a taboo subject that nobody ever wants to talk about it, but they don't want to have that conversation with themselves either.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so I think the initial hurdle of having that talk with myself is just gone. It's
That's
completely
awesome.
gone.
Yeah, yeah. What about obviously there was probably some skepticism coming in. What was you mentioned you were in the same spot, the same car when you first joined. What would you tell your former self that was skeptical?
Um, what I would tell, I think what had held me off then, even though I had talked to somebody, was I had a goal. I think on Instagram, there were a couple times that I had commented on there that to wipe off as much big debt by December. And because I had talked to somebody in August about it, and I said, I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm just not going to do it now, but I will pull the trigger because I know this is what I'm going to do. And
Yep.
so when I was coming into the academy, I'd cleaned off a lot of that stuff. And so, yeah, maybe I could go back to it and then see how it plays out a little bit more. But it would have been good to know that high before, but better late than never.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so even when I was coming in, I still had a little bit of debt, and the perspective on how to approach certain things, it kind of the organizing and the compartmentalizing that helps. Because
Yeah.
I obviously I my service department does 2.5 million a month in gross, and I have about 170 employees, and I can structure a conversation with a client or my employees, or what they did right, what they did wrong with them, by putting myself out of the picture. But I always thought that I should be able to have that structure and be able to do that myself.
Absolutely. That's awesome to hear, man. I think this is a big hurdle for a lot of people. They're like, I have debt. I don't know if I can pay for the academy. I don't know if I want to do it right now. And they sit there and sit there and sit there. And I'm like, This is part of the academy. We'll fast track that process, and that's a very common thing I hear. What would you tell somebody that's scared or fearful of beginning of taking this leap of faith per se, and figuring out their finances once for all?
I mean, for me, since I talk to clients all the time and it is about the money aspect of it, I think the biggest thing is building credibility with somebody that you're talking to that's on the fence. Um, I myself can give somebody an example. I'm one of those, like, if I was a naysayer and I became a believer, you better believe that everybody I'm going to talk to is definitely going to believe whatever I have to say.
Yep.
And that's like the biggest thing. And I understand the hurdle because you have so much out there and people are skeptical. I'm just going to fork over 5 grand to somebody I don't know, and
Sure.
I really don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, I feel like when I did that, maybe for 15 minutes, I was like, did I make the right choice? But I was like, you know what? In it now. So
Yep.
let's get
Yep.
through it.
That's a pretty normal, kind of a buyer's remorse feeling or whatever the case is. What else can we help you with, man? What's the biggest hurdle right now that you're facing?
My wife's first trimester has been horrible. So hopefully by the end of the week, it's done because she has been bedridden. And so I haven't been able to focus on anything expenses related because who's watching the kid, house
Yep.
expenses, or eating out, all that stuff. So post time change, I think I kind of fell off focusing on those things, and I'm like looking forward to getting back to it. I think the only thing that I will have help, maybe, I mean, if I need to get help with this, specifically setting up the wills and then figuring out on the second child, like,
Yep.
when do you start investing for the second child?
Yep. Gotcha. We definitely want to start right away. I mean, obviously everybody's goals are different, but like if you want to invest for the kids, I would do it right away so it's less money out of your pocket. Is this a 2024 baby or 2025?
2024, baby.
Nice. That's awesome, man. It's so cool. So seconds on the way. Probably a girl you said. We can definitely get started. I mean, dude, you could honestly start now. Like if you really wanted to, you could open a 529 under your name, under your social security number. And that
Yeah.
process could be underway today. The brokerage, the parent brokerage account, that could be underway today as well. The only account you can open would be like a Roth IRA, or an UPMA, where you need their social security number right now.
Right.
Because I opened mine for Logan and Ellie before they were born.
I remember you mentioning that. I wasn't sure if you had opened the first one before or if it was the second one,
Yeah,
but
it
I
was
thought
it
about
was
it.
both.
Yeah, I thought about the second one, and I was just like, here's the grand thing about the academy that I absolutely love. That aside from finances aside, it makes you question a lot of things.
Yep.
And for me, it was just like, all right, do I want to be in the car business? Blah 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 blah. But at this point, I just want to be home with the kids
Yep.
and maybe do something on the side, and then figure out, how to just raise capital and just take care of the kids. Time is just one of those things that I don't have. So I work 8 to 7 this week, and so I'm always go go go.
Yep.
And so I have 30 minutes with my kid at the end of the day and about an hour in the morning.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so I want to try to make the most of it, whether it's finances, but sparing time or finding ways to have time open up is like the biggest thing that made me realize I'm like, all right, it can't be all about work.